Before we get started with the presentation, I want to introduce Adele Dussault. She is with INDOT. She is Director of Stakeholder Services, and she's going to say a quick hello to everybody.
Hi everyone, it's great to see so many faces in the room. We love it when we have a lot of public involvement in our meetings. So like Mindy said, my name's Adele Dussault. I'm Director of Stakeholder Services for INDOT, and I just wanted to give a quick introduction to our INDOT team and then a very quick overview of what the meeting's going to look like. So first off, I'd like to introduce our two project managers from INDOT. We have Nathan Riggs and Jonathan Wallace. And then I'd also like to, and so these are the folks that you can go to for, questions about the project. These are the ones that'll have a little bit more of the technical knowledge on things. And then secondly, I'd like to introduce Kylie Kramer. She's our Public Relations Director. She can be here to field any media questions, as well as if anyone has any questions on getting set up with our socials and or getting set up with GovDelivery to keep updated with some of our project information. And so moving into this public meeting, again, thank you all for being here. I just wanted to remind everyone that the public meeting, this is a great chance for questions, interaction, discourse. We welcome that, and we really welcome your public comments as well. So this is a great opportunity for interaction with the INDOT team and with our designers. And with that, I will turn it back over to Mindy, and thank you all for being here. Thank you.
Thanks, Adele. Much appreciated. Okay, before we get too much further, I will introduce myself. Mindy Peterson. I am with Parsons. We are the lead consultant on this project. I'm on the public involvement side. Joining me on stage is John LeBlond. He is the Deputy Project Manager for Revive I-70. And we have some more additional Parsons team members with us this evening, but I'll do one shout out to Toby. Toby Randolph is the project manager for Revive I-70, so some of you likely had conversations with him in the hallway this evening. This, of course, is an INDOT project. Adele, thank you very much for the introduction and welcome, and thanks to the INDOT team that is joining us tonight. We want to give you an idea of what to expect with this public meeting. First of all, we want to give you a really clear idea of when you hear Revive I-70, what that project really entails, what it includes, what to expect. So we want to talk about those possible improvements. We don't have all of the information tonight, but we want to let you know the type of things that we are looking at as a project team. And we also want to let you know expectations. When are we going to have a little more information and more details to pass along? So we'll be talking about that as well. And this is a process. This project is in what's called the environmental and preliminary design stage. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But this is the part of the project where we really do a lot of listening. So it's fantastic when we look out and see several people who have taken the time, which we appreciate very much, to join us this evening, because we realize when you come out and join us for a public meeting, it is taking you away from other activities, things that are going on, family, dinner's going to get pushed a little bit, so we appreciate your time this evening. So the information that you share with us, whether that is with a comment form this evening, whether those are comments that you're having, that you're sharing at the boards, information that you're passing along to the project team, all of that helps us develop the project, so that's very important as well. We'll make sure that you know how to follow us and learn more about what's going on. So let's first talk about this meeting and what to expect. With this public information meeting, we want to give you an opportunity to learn more about the project. So that was the open house portion that we had prior to the presentation. When we wrap up this evening, we'll have an additional open house segment. So after the presentation wraps, join us again. Anybody who has the Revive I-70 shirt on, a name tag, we're happy to talk to you. So please do join us at the project boards. Ask any questions you may have. Share that feedback. We do have the comment form that you should have received on your way in. Go ahead and fill that out if you want. There's a box where you can drop that in, but let us know what you're thinking. And it's a good opportunity, too, when you signed in, if you wanted to sign up for those project and email updates, it's a great opportunity to follow us and know what's happening with this project. So with that, let's start with the project area. So Revive I-70 includes planned improvements for I-70 in Wayne County, and this is a very large area. So you can see where we start here, west of Cambridge City. We're going all the way over to the Indiana-Ohio state line. So this is a large corridor. Now what the team is currently doing is studying this corridor that is 20 plus miles long, and we're really identifying the needs. So what's happening today? What are we seeing? What are some of the issues that we're seeing? And then after we identify those needs, we really want to work as a project team to identify best solutions. And so that's a little bit about what you're going to hear from John tonight, is talking about some of the possibilities with improvements here. So that's where we are currently with the project. You just looked at the map. This is just putting words to the map that you just saw. But again, it is a large corridor, so 20 plus miles. And again, that's from west of State Road 1, and that's going all the way over east of Richmond. So it is a large area. And when we start talking about what's happening in this area today, we know some of the issues already. We know that the pavement is not in the best shape. We know some love and attention is needed there. We know that there are a lot of trucks that travel this corridor. So what NDOT really is hoping to achieve with this project is NDOT wants to look at ways to reduce that congestion, improve traffic flow, and improve really safety along this corridor. So these are all improvements that should make a difference in your experience as you're driving this I-70 corridor. Okay, so that's a good transition to what we call purpose and need. So this is an important part of developing the project. When we talk about purpose and need, that is a very defined element of the project. But basically, for you and me, what it means is it's the why. The purpose and need is the why of the project. Why is this project happening? What are we looking at? What are some of the things that we want to take care of? And so you can see here, this is the preliminary purpose and need. So we know that pavement, as I said, is not in the best shape. It needs some attention. So it is nearing the end of its service life. So we really want to make the improvements that are needed to bump that service life out for a good long time for the drivers who are using the pavement. We also know that some of the interchanges here they were developed a long time ago, okay? And they met design standards at the time. Those design standards have changed. So especially there's a couple of interchanges that we're taking a look at. John's going to talk more about that. But what can we do as far as improvements for those interchanges to make sure that drivers, maybe they're not doing the weave, the crossing over, moving in front of traffic. They're not having to do that. They have more time to accelerate when they are coming onto the interstate. They have more time to decelerate as they're exiting. So these are all important. That last bullet item there, alleviating that congestion, that's important. And we also know that I-70 is just a critical part of the infrastructure in Indiana. So that includes when you're talking about moving people and moving goods. So it's very important that we're expediting that movement and making that as smooth as possible. Again, this is preliminary purpose and need. So if you picked up a comment form, one of the things you'll see we ask you about on the front, we list that purpose and need and we say, okay, what did we not think about? What else should we be considering? Are there changes to what you just saw up here on the screen? So that's something that please do weigh in and let us know what your thoughts are. We're happy to review that information. Okay, so we talked about what we expect to happen with I-70. As we tell you that these are the things we want to do, we want to reduce that congestion, we want to improve traffic flow, we want to improve safety. What we are not going to be able to tell you tonight with detail is exactly how we're going to do that. It's still very early in the project. So John's going to talk about things the team is looking at, but we have not zeroed in on all of those improvements. So we'll have more meat on the bone when we get together. We expect late spring-ish, something like that. We'll get together for a public hearing. We'll talk more in just a few minutes about what that's going to look like. That's when we expect to have a preliminary alternative, and we expect to have more information. So this is a listening session, and the comments that you're providing to us are very important. We'll take that back, we'll review what you're telling us, and we'll make decisions based on the information that we're having come in to the project team. So we do anticipate that there will be pavement improvements. We've talked about that already, very important. We expect bridge improvements. We talked about this being a very large corridor. It's more than 20 miles, and there are a lot of bridges in this project area. So about 40 bridges. So that's a lot of defining what are the needs specifically with each of those bridges. John will talk more about that. There's a whole gamut of possibilities there, a lot of different improvements we could see. Couple of interchanges. If you visited the boards, you already saw those. This is a big one, additional travel lanes. Those are possible. Are we going to be adding a third lane? We can't say with certainty right now, but that's something this team is exploring. So we're looking at traffic numbers, we're looking at issues for the corridor, and we're exploring the possibility of an added travel lane. We'll have more definition on that issue when we get together again. So we're working to identify those improvements. We talked again about all of those bridges that need improvement. So that might be a new overlay, that might be painting, that might be an entire bridge replacement. Lots of things that John will be talking about. We're also looking at widening those bridges. We want to make sure that those bridges are able to accommodate an additional travel lane, whether that's now or in the future. That's important. We already talked quite a bit about the pavement and how much attention is needed there. We know that's nearing the end of its service life. Then the pavement, when you start talking about that replacement, all of the drainage, that's a very big deal. So we want to make the improvements there that are going to add decades of more life to that. And then all of the things that you would expect when you have corridor-wide improvements. We're talking about lighting, we're talking about signage, improving that, the guardrail, barrier systems. All of those things are expected to be upgraded. So what do we know? Because I've already told you that we don't know all of the details yet. What can we tell you today? There are a few things that we can tell you, information you can walk away with. Any widening that does happen, so if we do have an additional travel lane for a portion of this project area or for the entire project area, if we pursue that additional travel lane, we already know most of that widening is going to happen to the inside. So if you drive I-70 today, you have that very wide median, that grassy area, that's where the widening would be happening. Because that's where any widening would be happening, we can tell you this next item here. Very limited right-of-way needs with this project. There are no takes with homes, very, very limited. So we have the real estate to work with if we move forward with an additional travel lane. So that's important to know. People want to know about construction, what that might look like. We can't tell you today how long it would last because we still have improvements to identify. We have a lot of specific information to put together. And honestly, the person who comes on board, the contractor, will have their own plans for developing. So we can't really tell you duration because this is a large corridor. We could wind up with multiple contracts for this project, but we do have a targeted date. So we expect late 24, early 25, construction will start. And we also expect, because we've already talked a little bit about maintenance of traffic, during that construction, we expect to have at least 2 lanes of I-70 open during the peak travel time. So we can't always maintain that, we know, but during peak travel times, we'll keep those lanes open during construction. So big picture, we already talked about this, we're in the environmental and design stage. Right now is when we're taking a look at the corridor and saying, what needs to happen here? Then we identify those solutions. That's the next time we get together. Throughout this process, there is a tremendous amount of coordination that happens with local, state, and federal officials. That's a very important part of this process. You are a very important part of this process. That public input, does it matter? Absolutely, it does. Does what you tell us tonight matter? Yes, absolutely. So do share any comments, concerns, thoughts, suggestions. And then we talked again, that construction duration, just don't know yet. It's going to depend on a couple of things, including how we phase construction and funding available at the time. And with that, it's really a good time to hand off to the guy who is at least going to be able to put a little more detail on some of the improvements that we're talking about. And I'm going to turn things over to John.
Thank you, Mindy. So yes, possible improvements. Again, going with that generic terminology like Mindy said, because we don't have all the details right yet. We are still looking at all those items as we develop the NEPA document. But as she mentioned, we got road reconstruction. The pavement is at its near expected lifespan, and so now we have to replace it. We're all tired of going out there and watching workers patch this pavement constantly every other summer, it feels like. So now it's just time to replace it. Interchange improvements, we're going to be looking at 35 and 40. The corridor bridges, there are 40 of them. Most likely all of them on 70 are going to have some kind of work done to them. And then we'll be assessing the corridor for an added travel lane in each direction. So when we start diving a little bit more into it, with the 40 bridges, chances are we're going to be doing some kind of work to all of them. On 70, we will be. If the third lane is warranted, we'll be widening every single bridge. But for the most part, we'll be doing some kind of maintenance. And that's basically doing maintenance on a car. You still have to do maintenance on a bridge, whether it may be some patching or maybe an overlay. When Mindy mentioned painting, that's what's happening to the underneath side. When you see those beams, they may look a little rusty. Actually go through, clean the rust off, and repaint them to help the longevity and help keep those bridges lasting longer and safer for motorists. The possible improvements, I said US 40 and US 35. Right now we're looking at anything from minor improvements at these interchanges to major redoing the interchanges. That is going through an engineer report and analysis right now that hopefully we'll have more information later on this spring. We're also looking at, with those, possibly getting rid of or improving the merge and diverge areas as well as some of the weaving movements. We are going to replace all the lighting at all the interchanges. We're replacing the signage. We already mentioned the pavement. With that is the drainage, as Minnie said, and then possibly upgrading some of the positive protection. So you see a lot of guardrail out there. It looks a little tired, a little mangled, a little rusted. We'll be replacing all that as well. So the project process, how do we get from where we were a year ago to getting this actually into construction? So we are in the environmental process. We're in the purpose and needs study. So we have been working on this project for a little while just to start gaining some existing information, whether it's traffic related, crash related, starting to talk to the public about what can we do with this area. Then we'll go into a draft environmental document this spring, as well as a final environmental document, and in between will be the hearing. We expect those to be late spring, sometime in spring, and then at the end of late spring. And then we'll go into final design with construction beginning in late 2024. What to expect, here's just another timeline. We started in 2022 and hopefully going to construction in late 24, early 25. So preferred alternative, again, very generic right now. These conversations that get public input to know what are some of the problem areas within this corridor and how we can alleviate those or improve them. A lot will come out with that NEPA document, the environmental document, that we'll be able to share with the public hearing some more information, a little bit more details. Like Mindy said, we really don't have any details for you right now other than what we shared, but when we come to the hearing, you might be able to see a typical section. Actually, if it will warrant a third lane or not, if there are any noise walls that are being proposed as well. So with that, I'll hand it back over to Minnie to talk about how you all can figure out what the process of the project and progress is going. So thank you.
All right. So obviously we have this meeting tonight. So it's fantastic you're with us. If you know friends, neighbors, colleagues, coworkers who are interested in this project, they couldn't make it out tonight. We do have a virtual meeting tomorrow. That's at 6 o'clock. We do that via Teams. There's a registration link right here. Pretty easy to remember. You can go ahead and get registered for that virtual meeting. So if you know anybody who's interested in the project, they couldn't be a part of this meeting tonight, send them in our direction. It's going to be John and myself again. So you really are going to have the information already tonight. So you probably don't need to join us tomorrow unless you really enjoyed hearing from the two of us, and you probably have had enough of that. So no need for that. But the public hearing, this is important because John touched on this. So in the spring, when we come back to you, and we're going to give you plenty of notice to let you know that the public hearing is coming. It's a little bit different than a meeting. So when we have the meeting, we have the open house format. We have a lot of good conversations happening with project team members. When we have the hearing, going to be a little bit different. When you come to that hearing and you sign up, you're going to tell us, do you want to have comments, make comments at that meeting? If so, you'll have up to 3 minutes. That's a lot of time. Not many people use it. We'll go down the list. We'll call names. We'll have a microphone. People can stand up, share any comments with us that they choose to do so at the hearing. What our job is then to do is to take all of those comments and react to those. So the comments that you provide to us at the hearing, you will see responses from moving from the draft environmental document that we'll have in the spring to the final environmental document. You'll see us address all of those comments, questions, concerns. That public hearing, not going to be the only place to share those comments with us. We'll have a formal comment period at that time. Lots of comment channels. You can email us, you can write us, you can fill out a comment form, you can send a comment form to us. So we'll get to all of that. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to know that if you join us in what's anticipated to be late spring, a little bit of different feel for that meeting. We will have microphones on the floor. We will have speakers who choose to speak. And so that will be part of the formal comment period. But we do want to know what you think now. We don't want you to wait for the hearing because this is when we're developing the project. This is when we are reacting to what you tell us. So it definitely is a collaborative process. You are the folks who are living in this area, working in this area, driving this interstate. You see the issues. You know the things that you want to have addressed. You know the problems that you're having. So if there's a trouble spot, if there's something you're especially concerned about, if there's something that you think is absolutely warranted, something that you think is absolutely not warranted, share that information. And again, it's great if you had the conversations with project team members tonight. Once more, I will hold up the comment form because the conversations are good, but it's hard to remember everybody you've talked to at a meeting sometime. So do record that comment in writing for us. Leave that with us tonight, or you can mail that to us later and we'll talk about that. So very easy. We do have a project website. If you haven't checked it out yet, it's been live since December. That's revivei70.com. Lots of information there. You're going to see a lot of the information that we talked about tonight. You're going to see the possible improvements that we're looking at. You're going to see a long list of FAQs. Hopefully your question is on that list and you'll find an answer. If it's not, we're actually reacting to the information we hear tonight. So we hear a lot of folks saying, hey, what about this? We're going to develop a new FAQ and add it to the website. That website will grow with this project. So as we develop more detail, more information, you'll see more FAQs added, you'll see more detailed maps, more information being posted there. Great opportunity to sign up for those email updates. You can do so on the website. You can check the box when you signed in tonight, whether you prefer an update to your inbox or whether you want a text alert. We'll make sure that you know of things like public meetings, public hearings, comment periods. We're not going to bombard you with messages, but we will let you know what to expect and when we're hitting milestones for the project. If you're a social media person, give us a follow. It's quick and easy to do. We're going to also share the information. We're also just going to give you more of an idea of what's happening because sometimes you wind up with quite a bit of time between the public meeting and the public hearing when you hear from us again. I'm sure you're wondering, what the heck are they up to? What's going on? So we're going to let you know. So if you follow us on social media, you'll follow us as we develop this project and we'll share information with you. So again, Facebook, Twitter, follow us, share information. It's an easy share. For specific comments and questions, we do use the NDOT4U channels. They are fantastic channels. There's staffed. They have a great process of cataloging any comments they have coming in. Those are all shared with the project team. So if you reach out to NDOT4U, it's very easy to do so. You see the comment channels here, email, phone, website, but do let them know, hey, I'm talking about Revive I-70. My comment question is in regards to I-70, Revive I-70. Don't just say I-70 because Nathan knows, Kylie knows there is a whole lot of work happening on I-70 in Indiana. So say Revive I-70 if you have more specific information. If you have a comment that pertains to a specific mile marker or near one, if you know that information, the more you can share with us, the stronger that information is and we can react to it. And we will absolutely, if you have a question, we will get you a response. So if the NDOT4U folks can't give it to you that day that you reach out, they'll reach out to us and we'll get you a response. And with that, that's wrapping up the presentation portion, but we're going back out to the boards. Anybody with one of these shirts, anybody with a name tag, more than happy to talk to you. Lots of comment forms there, so feel free if you want to pick some up. And you can just send those back to the district if you want to take those with you. But again, there's in a box tonight. If you want to leave them in the box, that's great. And other than that, I just want to thank you again for your time and your interest in the project. We'll come back probably late spring-ish. We'll let you know. We'll have more information then, and we look forward to seeing you then. Thank you very much. Have a good evening.